Figured I'd make another quick video. I finally got the mill up and running, as you can see. I did not catch my first chips on camera, but here we are. I installed a 20 amp 220 volt outlet there, and it just uses some power cord that came with the machine. I'll put that back out of the way. That feeds the VFD, and I just made a little bracket that kind of mounts it off the where the reverse and the power switch was on the mill. I need a little cover for the junction box up there on the motor, but it's okay. I just got the vise on here now. I have not trammed the head in, so the head of the machine is probably not perpendicular to the table. I just set it to 0 degrees, and that's not very accurate. So what I need to do is put an arm in the spindle with the indicator on it, and then swing it from side to side and back to front on the table, and just keep adjusting the head until it's the same reading on both sides. I figured I'd show you this drive. I don't know, it's not terribly loud to me, but I don't know what the camera will pick up. And I have it set to 30 Hertz. And I can change the speed right here. So, shift it. Because it's a variable speed mill, I can also use the adjustment up here. We got the power feed here, and go ahead and gauge it. Definitely makes a mess. So, they're not hot. I have no idea if the feed or the speed's correct, but it seems to be fairly smooth. Chatter there at the end. Got the rapid switch. Hit stop. See, it stops the motor pretty fast. Definitely makes a mess, so I need to get chip guards for the ways. This machine never had them, but I think it'd be a good idea to, that way it'll keep the ways a little cleaner and the wipers won't have to do so much work. But looks pretty good. It's not even warm. The chips aren't warm either. Tool's cold still. That's just some old end mill that was in the box of collets. I figured I wouldn't have to feel too bad if I broke it. So there it is. It's working pretty good. I tightened up these gibs quite a lot until there was like some noticeable friction in the handle. Like it's not too bad once you're more towards the center, but when you get closer to the ends of the travel, they get a little stiff, but I can still move them. And once I did that, putting the dial indicator on the base of the machine on the table and trying to move the table, I couldn't get it to really indicate much movement at all, maybe a few tenths or maybe a thou. But I think it'll be more than good for what I do. Because the gib is so worn, or the base of the saddle so worn, I had to put the gib in pretty far, and it's actually sticking out on the backside, and that's stopping me from tightening the wiper plate on the backside because the gib's sticking out. I don't know if I should. So it's kind of dark. I don't know if you can see it, but the gib there's sticking out the backside. The fix for that is just for me to pull it out, cut a little bit off of it, and put it back in. So I'm going to do that, get some weight covers, and the next big thing will be the DRO, because I guess without it I can make things flat, and if I'm real careful and keep track of how many rotations I do, I can do everything with the dials here and use a dial indicator elsewhere, but it would make life a lot easier with the DRO. So that will definitely be the next thing. In dyno news, still flushing out the design. Of course I have the absorbers over there, and a fellow enthusiast watched my video about the dyno, and he reached out to me and I spoke with him. He went through this whole ordeal not too long ago, and he built his own dyno, and he's tried to do it the way I was talking about, with just kind of a rigid mount directly on the shaft of the dyno, and he had nothing but problems. And he tried it quite a few different ways, and I think it can be done, if you make the parts very precise. I know some of the lower horsepower hub dynos that are out there are rigid connection, but I think he really sold me on the idea of using some sort of CV axle to connect between the absorber and the wheel of the hub of the car. And I'll show you guys what I'm planning, or what the design is, but basically this is the rear hub from a Pontiac GTO or a Holden Monaro. There's actually a piece of old bearing here and a seal. I'll take that off, but my plan for this is to use this in the flange bearing, and then I'll be able to bolt a CV axle to it, and then I'll make basically an adapter that goes from the absorber shaft to this bolt pattern, and there'll be the CV axle will be in between it, and then this will be supported by the flange bearing, and then I can go from here to like a cup or a adapter for different cars. But I think this will save me from machining these two parts. I got both sides for a pretty good deal, and they already have the bolt patterns and a bearing surface. So I'm going to try them. They were cheap enough. But I'll make a separate video showing the whole design, what I'm kind of planning. But I thought you guys would maybe be interested in seeing the mill actually running and that drive. There's like 15 or so parameters you have to program into the drive before you can use it. And maybe I'll link a video in my description. It wasn't too bad. I mean, I ran through it maybe 20 minutes and also referenced the manual that came with it, and it's pretty straightforward. There's a little jumper inside I need to switch, and then I can change one of the parameters. It'll let me use the little onboard potentiometer to change the speed instead of trying to use the buttons. And you can set the min and max speed and the accelerations. It's pretty nice. And I ran the mill for quite a while and nothing got warm. So hopefully everything's all good with it. It sounds pretty good. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.